guys, it's iTech every week again, back with another iPad mini video. And this one I'm going to give my first impressions of it. First of all, when I unboxed it, I ran over all the ports and everything on the device. And I also said that its weight, it wasn't anything like crazy light or anything like that. But now that I've been using it, if you're comparing it to like an iPad 3rd generation or 4th generation, if you're comparing it with one of those, it's definitely a lot lighter. And as for all the buttons on the iPad mini, they're all very easy to access. If you're just normally using your device right here, you can easily reach the lock. Not the lock, the silent switch and the volume buttons. The lock switch as well, though, you have to move your hand up a little bit, of course, to hit that. But it is easy to access. As for its thinness, it's pretty thin actually. It's comfortable to hold and everything. The edges are rounded. They're kind of curved at the edge there, so it's comfortable to hold and it fits nice in the hand. As for the speed of it, I was browsing on Safari and I was browsing kind of fast, and I was going through the web page and flipping through it really fast, going up and down the page, and it actually had a little bit of lag. The processor in this is an A5 processor, same as the iPad 2, but there was a little bit of lag, nothing terrible. I also browsed YouTube for a little bit on the mobile version, and everything seemed to run smooth there. There hasn't been any lag really with switching apps, or the device hasn't been locking up or anything like that. So there's definitely no problems there. The speakers on the iPad, they sound great. I played a little bit of music on here, and the speakers on the bottom here did a great job. The back, the color of the back color of the iPad mini here, it's the same as the iPhone 5, like that slate color. The black, it's also that black slate. It's the exact same as the iPhone 5. So I would assume that the back of the iPad is going to be pretty prone to scratches. So that may be something you want to consider. Comparing this with the white one, I would assume the scratches on this would probably stick out a lot more than they would on the white one. So if that would bug you, you may want to consider getting the white iPad mini instead of the black. I want to let you guys know that as well. And as for the cameras, one thing that may bug you is the iPad mini does not have a flash on the rear camera there. So that may be a concern to you. I haven't really taken any photos of this, and I don't really plan on taking that many photos with it. So the flash is not a concern to me, but it may be to you, so I want to let you guys know about that. There is no flash on it. And as for the rear camera as well, it is a 5 megapixel camera, and it can also record 1080p video. For the front FaceTime camera here, it's a 1.2 megapixel camera. So it's better than that VGA camera they had in most of the previous devices. And the front FaceTime camera can also record in 720p videos. And I think the cameras, to compare them to a different device, I think they're exactly the same as the iPod Touch 4th generation, the cameras that are on that. But I have opened up the camera app, and overall, the pictures are decent. They're not like super great, and they're not like terrible. It takes pretty decent photos and everything. I haven't really taken any to show you guys. I just kind of opened up the camera app and kind of looked around, and I noticed that it wasn't like super clear, but it was decent. Another thing to notice on the iPad mini here, if we zoom in here, I don't know if you can tell or not on camera, it's cut exactly how the iPhone 5 is cut. I believe the iPod Touch 4th generation, I believe that one is cut like this as well, where like the bezel, I think they said they cut it with a diamond, and it has like this, almost like a mirror reflection on the bezel there, and it's exactly like the same on the iPhone 5 here. I don't know if you guys can tell on this either, but you can kind of get an idea there. Basically, if you guys have used any, if you guys have used the iPhone 5 or the iPod Touch 4th generation, it's got that same cut bezel. And another thing about the display, I don't know if I said this, it is not a Retina display. If you guys did not know that, if you use it, of course, you'll probably notice that it's not a Retina display. It's somewhat close to Retina display, because what it is, it's iPad 2's resolution scaled down to the 7.9-inch display instead of the iPad 2's displays. So there's more pixels and a smaller screen, which will give you a clearer display there. So it looks nicer than the iPad 2 overall. But it's nowhere near as good as the Retina display would be. And that's the one thing on the iPad mini that I'd be willing to pay more for, would be a Retina display. If they would upgrade the display to a Retina display, that's one thing that I would love. And that may not be the case for you. Some of you guys may not care about a Retina display, but I personally, everything I love high def. That's pretty much how I am. But the display on the iPad mini, it's definitely not bad. It's just not as good as a Retina display, of course. So, the text isn't as clear, and just overall, you'll notice the difference. If you're used to Retina display, you'll notice the difference with the iPad mini. But it's definitely not a bad display. I just wanted to make that clear. And another thing on the iPad mini is the aspect ratio. It's not 16:9. which means like I was watching YouTube videos and I noticed this. I noticed letterboxing, so that's what I didn't know what the aspect ratio of the iPad mini was, but I knew it wasn't 16:9 because I noticed all the letterboxing when I was watching YouTube videos on the iPad mini here. If you guys don't know what I mean by letterboxing, that's basically when you're watching, like if it's a video or something like that, it's basically when you'll see those black bars like on the top or bottom of the screen, or the left or left and the right side of it. That's basically what letterboxing is. As for the smoothness of like the OS overall, I talked about earlier about the processor speed and how it lagged up a little bit in Safari. I think that was just the web page I was on, or there was just a ton of stuff and that's why it lagged. Because everything else, like I was browsing Twitter for a while, and everything there, like going through my timeline and everything, it was smooth. But even like switching apps and everything, like when if I was switching through the multitask switcher and stuff like that, everything goes pretty smoothly, and I haven't noticed any lag there. And as for the overall performance of the iPad mini, it is kind of close to the iPad 3. And even in my Geekbench video, if you guys haven't seen that, I'll put an annotation or put the link in the description. You guys can check that out. But even in that video, when I did the Geekbench results, I showed that it only scored like 30 points below the iPad 3. So performance-wise, it is pretty close to the iPad 3. And like I said, I have not noticed any lag or anything like that, except for that one incident in Safari. And as for the display, I'll go ahead and compare it with the iPhone 5 here to give you guys an idea of how big it is. If you have used the iPhone 4, you'll know exactly how big that is. So you can kind of tell the difference of the iPhone 5 with the iPad mini here. And let's make sure it's all in shot here. Gotta do that. But there you go. So you can see that is the comparison of the iPad mini with the iPhone 5 there. And overall, the comfort of the device, like the size of it, everything seemed to be okay. It is a little bit big. Like I can fit it, the entire thing, in my hand and like browse Twitter, something like that, with one hand. But if you have smaller hands, it's not going to be too comfortable for you to hold with one hand. And for the most part, I actually use two hands on the tablet. So that basically concludes my first impressions of the iPad mini. I'll definitely have the full review out within probably a week or two here. So you guys can look forward to that, and I'll give you all the full details there and go more in depth of the iPad mini itself. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the iPad mini so far. For $330, this is the lowest end model that you can possibly get. It's the Wi-Fi only model, so it's the lowest possible price you can get for the iPad mini, coming at $330. So for that price point, I am definitely satisfied with the iPad mini, and I would recommend it to you guys if you're looking for something not as expensive as the Retina display iPad, and you're looking for something a little bit cheaper. The iPad mini would definitely be great for you. But the iPad mini definitely seems to be a great mobile device. It seems to be like a perfect size for a tablet if you don't want something as big as the iPad 4. So it's like a perfect size for a mobile tablet, and it just seems to be very convenient. And as for that lag I talked about when I was browsing in Safari, it did only happen one time, so I don't know if I don't know if it was just that web page itself, or if it just happened to happen that one time or what. But it did only happen that one time for as long as I've been using the iPad so far. So we'll have to see in my full review of the iPad mini. I'll try to remember to cover that about that lag and see if it happened again with me or not, because it may have just been that site that I was on. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a like down below. That helps me out. And if you'd like to share the video, you can hit that share button down below as well. If you'd like to see my future videos, you can go ahead and subscribe at top, and then I'm notified when I release those. Like I said, I already uploaded a Geekbench video, so if you want to check that out, I'll put an annotation, or it'll be in the description. Or you can just check out my uploads and you can see it there. I also have the unboxing up already, so if you want to check that out, you can check that out as well. I'll also post some jailbreak updates for iOS 6. If you guys are jailbreakers, you'll know that there is no jailbreak out for iOS 6 yet, except for some of the older devices, and it's a tethered jailbreak. But I'll definitely post some progress updates to the jailbreaks if you want any of that kind of stuff. I'll keep you notified if you subscribe at top. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.